Evening all. There's three in the house. Who'd we have? I think Mick will be around. Yeah. Four in the house. Oh, bloody hell, that's a shocker. Just looking at me here, I'm starting going grey. Good evening, Mick. Good evening. Good morning, Rotherham. Evening. How you doing, Luke? Is me sound coming through? Oh, actually, from where it is, dig out your microphone. It's under shizzle. I really must tidy that. There we go, that's a bit better. Good, Luke. I just started watching your Ilman Imp video, Luke. I'm going to have to go back to it later. I've got that model somewhere, the Corgi Imp, in that copper colour. Nice little model. Scary thing is, I remember it from at school. I didn't have it, another lad had it. I remember that, but that back opening window were pant wetting excitement back in the day. Yeah, it's a nice little model, the Imp. Dinkies weren't too bad either. Dinky didn't do a bad Imp. I've done one of them. I've got another to do, but I need a bonnet for it. They're the Dinkies. Pity someone didn't do the Imp Californian or the Stiletto. They were a nice thing. Yeah, my dad had an Imp Californian, Luke. They were a nice car. Oh, working nights, Luke. I don't get up to anything when I'm doing nights but sleeping. I sleep. It's weird. I sleep better when I'm on nights than I do when I'm on days. Weird shit. I get more hours kept. I know I'm going to try and get it sorted this week. I've got some time on my hands. I'm going to ask PJ if he can set it up during week and try to sort it. It's bugging me. I'm missing going in. It's a good fun way to spend a couple of hours when you're not just watching me feet. But yeah, I might still do the Land Rover, but I miss the Land Rover build. I'll do the paint it blue one. I might do one of my trains for that. Because I model rail blue, so. But But yeah, it's all good. I don't do cars as much as I used to, but I still enjoy doing the odd one. So the channels there I release sporadically. I've not really done a lot on model railway one for a bit. I'm going to be doing a video for my railway channel because I'm doing some of my art, so I'm photographing it as a work in progress. But yeah, I just have to finish the rails now, but it's getting there. So I'll probably I've photographed it through the stages, so that'll make a video for my model railway channel. Because I'm going to be using my artwork. I'm going to paint my own background on the layout. That's going to come further on. I'm buying track and underlay and track pins. I'm buying point motor switches. I'm getting all the stuff to get all my track work set going. Good evening, Valleys. Good to see you. Yeah, it's getting there, Valleys. It's going good. It's been an enjoyable project. Having said that, I probably started it a couple of years ago, and I just put it to one side. You know, as time flies by, it only feels like a month ago, but in reality, it's probably 2 years ago since I started that. In fact, I can give you a date. I'll go back and look on my painting page on Facebook. Have a look what date I posted it on there first. Go to my painting page. Media. Let's have a look. Yeah, it is indeed nearly 2 years since I did it, since I made a start. One of the first pictures up was December the 22nd, 2022. How time flies. So yeah, that was started 2 years ago, that picture, Luke. Near as damn it. I put it to one side, and at one point I misplaced my drawing board. How does that even happen? But I misplaced that. So yeah, it's unbelievable. I must get the award for some of the slowest turnaround times on projects. I built a Tamiya German scout car once. Took me about 6 years. Unbelievably. Now sometimes I'll start plastic model kits and they'll get thrown out before they stall and I throw them out before I finish them. I regretted it the other week because I had an old Matchbox kit of a German half-track gun and motorcycle, and I threw it out before I finished it. Bit of a bad move, that, really. Yeah, but I've got up to the bit watching on your imp, Luke, where the suspension were broke. They used some unusual ways for suspension, Corgi. That's one thing I think where I think they'd have done better going the cheaper method, like Dinky just sticking to wires and spring steel plates riveted onto the chassis. I think them plastic suspension I mean, it worked when they were new, but for longevity, it's a pretty crap design, some of them. Some of them lasted, but in the main, the suspension collapses. It didn't help. See, at the time, plastics were in their infancy. They were still fairly new and they were still discovering what blends worked and how to use them. And some were a lot cheaper quality and they degrade quick, some of them. Especially the Huskies. The Huskies are abysmal plastic on them. If you ever try to restore one of the small Husky models that became Corgi Juniors, the plastic on them crumbles. It's the same plastic they use in the bigger Corgi models, but because it's scaled up, it's not quite as bad, but it still has the same problems. Fantastic valleys. I've got a 9F. I bought an Evening Star and I was going to do it, and the paint, I cleaned it and I used the chemical that affected the paint. So I bought another Evening Star, like serviced it and repaired it and stuff. And that's a runner now. It's a nice model. So the one I damaged the paintwork on, I'm going to make a normal 9F out of. Just spray it black and weather it and should look good. Take the tyre appearance off it, spray, like weather the motion and everything. In fact, I think I could do that for one of my nearer in time videos. I were out the other week at Leyland Model Railway Exhibition, and that came home with me. And I sent off for the plates, and the people who supply the plates sent the plates through. Bear in mind, the Lima model is the City of London. They sent through. Hang on. City of Glasgow. So, I could change that. It's only the last number. I think it's 105, 005 or whatever to 006. But I told them, and they actually sent out City of London. So I don't need to change the number now. I may buy another one in the future and redo the plates, but it makes a big difference. I think I may possibly do a video and weather that and put the plates on and stuff and service it and see what occurs. Because I could really do with having a training one of my nearer videos. Yeah, it's a good model. Me and me mate bought a local board of Western from Leyland Model Railway Exhibition, because he's setting up a layout as well. And like me, he's doing rail blue. So he bought a rail blue Western, and he put it on my track here, and it didn't work at first. And he went, "Well, I'll have to service it." I said, "No, give it a chance. It's probably just been stud and not run." So what I did, it were intermittent, so I just rolled it along the track till it picked up, and then I just left it to run, and it started running, and we just left it running on my track, because it's like a 15-foot run, and it's like a tail chase of 15 feet. So it's about a 35-foot, I'd guess, circle, and just left it running, doing lap after lap. Then started it off in the opposite direction. And eventually it ended up running sweet, but he still serviced it and got it going better again, so. But yeah, mine just went on the track and just worked. It should indeed. It should indeed. Yeah, that was a mistake by not looking it up. But yeah, it's a nice local. In fact, give me a second. I'm bidding on a Western detailing kit for one I'm restoring that were badly damaged. See if I'm winning. Oh, I'm not interested in that bit. Right, let's have a look. Yeah, it's still going good. Right, that's cool. So yeah, I'm bidding for a detailing kit for the Western I'm doing, so that'll come up. So I think I'll detail it, and instead of the decoupling, I might do the old wire on the buffers trick. Like make a wire coupling for it on both ends, so you can see the detailing and the coupling isn't too intrusive. But she'll look nice. Yeah, hoots, man. I was being a wee bit of a bar bag. Yeah, I was brought up in a half Scots household. Sometimes when I was a kid, I knew I was in trouble, but I hadn't a clue what for. I used to be like that to me dad. What's she on about? Don't disrespect your mother like that. I don't fucking know what she's saying. Oh, I swore. Oh, I used the swore. Yeah, but I didn't. Oh, God. Stuff I did as a kid. I'll never forget years ago, my mum bought me white sandals and I was not going to wear them. I thought that will kill me inside. So I floated them. I floated them off down our local canal. I got in so much trouble. First day, I thought I'd rather walk home in bare feet than wear them. Yeah, they made brilliant boats, but I was in so much shit. Like going home, and they used to smash bottles and everything round there. I'd rather have stitches in my feet than wear white sandals. God. Some of the stuff I did as a kid. Oh, I were always in shit. Happy days. Happy days being in so much trouble. Oh, God. So has anybody done anything decent over the weekend? Wish I had, but I've been in night. I did Friday and Saturday night in work. I've slept most of today. I've lifted my head up when I've wanted a slash and etc. But apart from that, nothing. Yeah, not half, fellas. When your mum come home with sandals, you just died inside, didn't you? You used to be shit. I wanted some of them. Well, you're same age generation as me, Valleys, I'm guessing. So we were like, oh, we want them baseball boots that were really popular. And your mum brought home sandals and you went, oh, I've just died inside. I wanted either baseball boots or monkey boots. I know I saw it. You've done a nice job, Mick. I think it's the Austin Devon or so. On a railway theme, I'm a member of our local preservation society, and I got the magazine this week. It's a nice little. It's the East Lancs Railway, but it's a nice little. It's a quality magazine, really. Tells you everywhere where they're up to. That's one they've restored recently, the Little Shunter. Uh, but they have all sorts in it. It's a really good quality publication. They've got some beautiful photos from the Legends of Steam event. Sir Nigel Gresley there crossing the bridge in Somerset. Britannia there, nice photo. Let's have a look. There's a Genty charter one they did there. Couple of nice shots. That's a good shot. The Sir Nigel and Britannia together. But yeah, it is. Quality magazine, that's a good shot as well. The rare piece. Britannia's front end reflected on floor. Some good photography, that. So, yeah, all in all, our local society magazines a good quality magazine. It's like pretty thick, plenty of reading, so you can catch up with what you're doing. Only gripe I have with a society is I still haven't got my membership card out, and I need it for proof so I can get reduced price rides. And it's getting on now. We're nearly through summer. I've had been a member for 3 months, and I haven't got my membership card yet. Taking piss a bit. Which is annoying. I went the other week, I said, I haven't had my membership card in 3 months. I said, next year I'll be giving me money to Keighley and West Valley Railway. So the guy was, I said, well, get your arse in gear. People are paying you good money for membership. I'm not likely to pay again if you start pissing around. If I don't get the membership card to give me cheap travel, what's the point? I'm not being funny, but I can take good photos myself. And do. I've got the gear to do it. And years of experience. The years of experience is the upsetting bit. Yeah, started when I was 9, so I should know what I'm doing by now. Yeah, you got it. I was looking at your lot, Mick. You got a nice little lot there. There's some nice classic dinkies in it. Some nice original dinkies. I have the milk float one to do. I bought the decal for it, and I just have to get on, strip it, clean it, paint it, build it back up, and shove it in display cabinet. But it's a nice one, that little dinky electric milk float. I don't know which of the 2 colours I'll do it in. There's 2 colours, so I could choose either, I suppose. But I think, if I remember rightly, the 2 different colours have 2 different coloured decals. So, if that's the case, I'll have to do the right colour for the right decal. Unless I play it fly and do a code 3. Yeah, they were good. I like the large scale SDI you got. I'm partial to the SD ones, though. I told Luke. Some of the first cars I ever drove were Rover V8 SD ones. They were some of the first cars I drove, and they were a powerful bitch. At the time when I was learning, first gear were practically useless unless you were towing and needed loads of torque. Like, second gear were like first on any other car with that big V8 in it. They're beautiful, Luke. It's like a lot of the stuff Rover did, though. They were beautiful cars, beautiful designs, but they didn't concentrate to get the quality. From British Leyland taking over, the quality just went downhill. And then it went on to when it was the Rover Group. Oh, Jesus, I worked for them in the 90s when they were a Rover group, when they were the Rover Group. You could listen to them dissolving in the car park. Yeah, you could listen to them rotting in the car park. We got a... It weren't that old. We got a Rover Montego in. And because of the plastic covers they had round the back of the window, the rear window, it held all the muck and moisture in and everything. And they rotted the back windows out of them. It was poor design. I used to love one of the nicest cars I remember in Rover Group. The design and everything was the Montego Estate in the metallic British racing green with cream interior. That was a beautiful car. But it was let down with a Rover quality at the time. Even us lot said they were... Our manager one time, we were steam cleaning a car off, and we were steam cleaning the PDI wax off underneath. And he goes, "Don't do that, that's part of the guarantee." Said, "Oh, come on, be real, it'll rot. It'll rot way before that. It makes no difference cleaning that off, it's gonna rot." They did loot, but the sad fact is they just didn't have the quality. I've always said, I'll always maintain it. Rover products and the BL products, they had some beautiful designs, cracking designs, but the quality and the build and everything and design used to let them down. One of my friends was on the design team of the Austin Allegro. And the way they worked it, they had one team design the front suspension, and they had another team design the rear suspension. And never did the two teams talk to each other. My mate was on the team that designed the rear suspension, but they never once talked to the team that was designing the front suspension. And that were for the All Agro. It's weird. They were a weird company. They had tunnels when they actually closed down. I don't know whether it's still available online, but I'm into urbex photography. And it may still be there as one of the vintage photo galleries. But there was somebody went in Longbridge not long after it closed, and they photographed everything they left behind, and it was amazing the stuff they'd left. They had a sort of huge room in there, and it was full of experimental vehicles. Like they'd been, and there were one that they were using for a new model that never saw the light of day, the new model, because they went under. But they were working on it, and they had a car in there that was pretty much a test bed, but it had all the electronics in it and everything for testing the vehicle. And There was one, it's actually in one of the museums. One of the cars they took out of there. There was, I think it's a Mini Clubman. And it was just in the tunnels. And they'd beaten the shit out of it. It's a copper coloured Mini Clubman and they used it for running around and stuff. And it's had the shit beaten out of it, about 1,000 dents in all the panels. But it was just left in the tunnels. An old Mini Clubman, and well, it'd have been new when they were pissing about with it at factory. When I worked for Ford's, we got one of the Mark 4 Escort Cabriolet. They couldn't get it running from day one when it come off the car transporter. It sat in the corner of our Ford dealership in the workshops, and it had a huge layer of dust on it with all the coffee cup rings everywhere. And all our mechanics couldn't get it started. Eventually, it went back to the factory, so they either found the fault or stripped it for parts. But yeah, it's a weird old thing, the car business. The amount of bollockings I got for thrashing the tits off new vehicles round car parks and stuff. They're customers' vehicles. When I worked at Toyota, and they had one. It was one of the new MR2s when it came out, and they were very predictable handling. They were a good little car, and I thrashed the tits off this one up. We had an incline outside our workshops, and they were about half a mile away from the dealership. So we slapped trade plates on and buzzed them up the road and took them into the dealership. Anyway, this incline going out, we had the first MR2, one of the first MR2s in the country, and we were selling it to a punter. And anyway, I gets in it and thrashes it up this incline, and they kicked the back end out. He kicked the back end out. I opposite locked it and crabbed it up the incline to the main road, stopped, then hammered it out and thrashed it up the main road. I hadn't even got into the dealership before the phones were buzzing. And my boss, as I walked in, he goes, "Get here, you little shit." So I was in proper crap. Another one was wheel spinning Ford Fiesta. It was either an XR2 or an XR3, wheel spinning it in the car park. Used to do what we were all, because we were all young lads. The valeters were all young lads, and you all had to drive the cars. We used to always be in office getting our asses spanked. One lad I knew worked for Vauxhall, and he took the traction because it stopped him wheel spinning and everything. He took the traction control fuse out of what were they? It was one of the 3 litre like luxury cars, and he was wheel spinning that. He were in the office, what? But he nearly come across because he were on the motorway and he kicked it open and it spun round to point the other way on motorway. He said, "I shit myself." Scared him to death. But yeah, main dealers are fun. Yeah, so when you buy a new car, don't expect it to have been nursed and like nothing's ever gone wrong. But yeah, what have I got here recently? I might, do a class 20 for my next video. I want to do a video tomorrow for my channel. I'm not 100% what to do. I've got a few I've to finish off. Let's have a look what I've got on the boil. See what people think I should tackle. I'll just go and have a look. Oh, hang on. No, I don't need that. I need 40s. I need my photos up. Go on to videos. Right, let's have a look. Shaky and shed. Right, my list that are on the workbench at the moment is I've got a Tyco American HO bicentennial livery, a Triangle 59 262 tank, a Lima Great Western Railway tank, either the engine, Hornby tanker, Hornby Ginty, Hornby Double O, Class 20, American GP 20, and that's finished. Oldham 101, a D'Agostini Toby, Doppel Rail Buzz is well down the line, and that's about it. So any you fancy out of that little lot? Anything you fancy? Yeah, there's quite a few there to be getting on with. Everybody's gone quiet. You're not saying anything, folks. Join in when you feel like it, It's everyone's chat. It's not meant to be just some fat bloke going on with himself. Some fat loony chatting away to himself. Ah, valleys, yeah. I've just spotted that. Yeah, points. That's where I'm getting to. I've got point mortars. I've sent off for some cork underlay. A big bag of track pins. I'm going to be... You can get kits for it, but I'm going to do it myself. You can get stuff... You can get kits now to super elevate your track. Why, I don't know, because all you have to do is stick card shims in one side under your track. I don't get why... Well, I don't get why there's a market. Some of the things that modelers are so lazy nowadays and don't work out their own ways. Well, I'm doing it tonight, Nick. There's only you replied up to now. Well, Luke is. Luke has not so long since in valleys. Yeah, that were normal with Rover valleys. MG Maestro and the old door card falling off. Some of the stuff And it didn't even get picked up on PDI either. I don't think we did PDI at Rover. I think they just knew it were going to go wrong and they'd get fetched back eventually. The SD1 was a lovely car. It was ahead of its time. It was beautiful design, fantastic engines, and some great innovations. But it was BL all over. They were shoddy. They used a lot of innovative ideas, but they needed extra work. And they didn't bother investing that extra bit of time that it had taken to take it from an averagely good car. The extra bit of time that was taken and have put it in a really good quality luxury car brand. But they didn't do the extra stuff they had to on them. And it was British car industry's problem. It was like the Discovery. They fully admitted, because they wanted that vehicle on the market, they sent it out before they'd ironed out all the problems on it. Put it into production before they ironed out all the problems. They knew the gearbox was wrong on it, and the biggest percentage of Mark 1 Discoveries had gearboxes done on warranty. Why do that? Just concentrate on getting it right and release it later. I don't get that attitude they had on. I don't get it. I just didn't get it. No worries, Luke. Catch you in a bit. Sent out for a bottle of wine. You know, that was the problem, that V8 engine, Valleys, it was a Buick engine. They got it off the Americans and they upgraded it and improved it, and it was a fantastic engine. They were like, that engine is bulletproof. It's one of the best engines the Rover Group had. And then they built rock boxes around that. If they'd have done the bodywork right and trimmed right and got it all nice, they'd have been in the luxury car market. They'd have been in the quality range above where they actually were. Which is a shame, because the original Rovers were well known for quality. Like if you got a P5B, the P5B with the V8 and the B actually stood for Buick engine, which was where they sourced the engine from. It's an American Buick engine, and it's had alterations over years for our roads and our cars, but I don't get how you can be. Well, actually, they didn't mess the V8 up. That was the only thing they managed not to mess up. We're a good engine, but we got the engine off the Japanese. Cracking engine, used in Hondas. It were an Honda engine. They give it BL and BL made it crap. How does that work? The Japanese do a fantastic engine. Soon as we get it, it's crap. It's because we used to have we have different attitudes to engineering in this country than the Japanese have. An engineer in this country will turn his hand to anything and they basically wing it. It's good quality, so long as you're working on big bulky things. Like they do quality, like making a traction engine. Fantastic. There's nothing will beat British engineering. But when you get down to the smaller sizes and working on stuff that's more intricate, we have the attitude of, oh, I can get that down to the width of the fag paper. No, there's like I'd stick a fag paper in between it and I'd know the gap were right. Well, no, you have proper measurements for it. It's not just the fag paper. Like a lot, and that's how they work the engineering of fag paper. But in Japan, they have a whole different attitude. They have decent machinery, and you'll have one guy, and they take parts to him. And all he'll probably make in his lifetime as an engineer, he'll make one item. Say the base of the carburetor, like say a float ball for a carburetor. He'll make that one item all his life. But that'll be the best and most precise piece of engineering you'll ever come across. And that's how the Japanese work it. They have little sheds and it'll be one guy and he'll work and make one part to perfection. And that's probably carried over into factories because they'll work in factories as well. But you've probably got one guy that's making wheel hubs and he'll make wheel hubs he won't go on cylinder heads tomorrow. He'll just sit making wheel hubs all day. And he'll make them to absolute perfection. And he can look at something by eye and know if it's right. Whereas else we're just get that right. I don't call British engineering because it's good, but it didn't go with the times. And you look at, I'm not a foreign supporter of engineering, but you look at it, they invested, they bought new machinery, they measured proper, they kept up to date with engineering. And British engineering shops are still in the 1930s. You know, the Japanese, they're outstandingly talented. Some of the Japanese people. It makes us look. I'm being blunt about it. The Japanese, for some of the stuff they do, they make the British look like an island of monkeys. Like, have you ever seen the video of that guy that mixes paint colours? A Japanese guy, he mixes paint colours by eye. And then he'll put them in a can. I think looking at the video, it looks like he's at car shows somewhere. But he'll mix a colour. He has all pots around him of colours and he'll look at a colour and he'll put about 5 colours in this pot until he comes up, and he won't do any experiments, and he'll look at a colour, he'll go, bit of silver, bit of blue, bit of green, a bit of white, and to get all the tone and everything. And he doesn't do anything else. It's a first crack deal. He mixes it, then he'll take a bit out and dab it on the colour, and he's right first fucking time. And then he'll take the pinnet he's mixed, thin it, put it in a can, charge the can up with the air or whatever it is they put in it, and there you are, there's your car colour. He's outstanding. I'd dispute that nowadays, fellas. I'd dispute that. The old days, yeah, you're 100% correct. The trouble was, and it's always been the trouble with the UK, we'll invent an idea and we'll go so far with it, and then we'll sell it abroad. The amount of times this country's done that on stuff that should have been world beating for us. I mean, in train terms, the APT is a classic example. The tilting train. We did loads of work on it. It cost us millions, if not into billions, to do the HST and get it as far as they did. They were probably about a year off it being right and being 100%. And it was so very nearly there, just that little bit more effort. And they'd have had a train they could have sold to the world. Instead, they sold it as they were, and another country finished developing it. And they've sold it back to us. The thing is, fellas, we can get it right. It's just that they can get it right. They do have the technology. But they won't invest in themselves. They won't invest in it, and they'll go, oh, it's cost 5 million now, or whatever. Get rid of it. We're not spending any more on it. It happens all the time. It happened to us over in Stockport. We had British Aerospace over there. They were building the new lot of Nimrod aircraft. And it'd gone a bit over budget. Yeah, I'm not arguing about that. In fact, they were building the new batch of Nimrod. And he was pretty much there. And they closed the factory, scrapped it, and they bought in from abroad. But abroad, the foreign aircraft doesn't cover our needs. So they're having redesign anyway, or buying. Like we buy equipment that doesn't quite fill our needs anyway. I mean, even looking back to aircraft again, the Americans couldn't work out how to get through the sand barrier without losing control of the aircraft. We had it figured out, and we designed the tailplane that enabled it. Like a normal tailplane, you'll have elevators that go up and down, and it causes flutter and throws the aircraft around. The British designed the tailplane that pivots and all the tailplane goes, and that doesn't flutter because you don't have an angled surface. It's just one full surface, so you don't get the flutter. And the British designed that instead of taking a plane through the sound barrier ourselves, because we had the technology to do it. They did a deal with America whereby they got that innovation and we got something else. America didn't go through on the deal. They took the idea and didn't pay us back. It's always been a sore bone of contention, that. You know, it's a joke. We've got rid of Harriers because they're that bad. And America and Spain still use them. Spain has aircraft carriers full of Harriers. They probably got a lot of our Harriers for Spurs. I don't know about that, about us giving jet engine technology to the US and USSR, because what happened at the end of World War II, the United States and USSR got the German scientists that they were working on them programs. Although Frank Whittle had designed the first jet engine, and I think they actually flew the first jet aircraft prototype, which were the Gloucester Aircraft Company. But again, others took the title because they did more fettling with it. The Germans, they got the ME-262. But if you look at it, technically, really, the Italians were the first. It weren't a full proper jet engine. It was what were known as a motor jet, because they used a motor and a ducted fan. But the idea was there for a jet engine with the Italians. They just didn't quite go in the right direction. Yeah, but it can be argued, valleys, that we've done that. We give the first Stuka dive bombers had Rolls-Royce engines in them. They had Rolls-Royce Jumos in the first Stukas. But yeah, it's frightening the things we've given away over the years, that we could have been a lot richer nation if we hadn't. We could have been a lot richer than we are. But we give ideas away. Sad, but there you go. That's my tea finished. But yeah, we give. But then you look at stuff as well, like the Japanese nearly bought in the German ME-109 during World War II. They had an ME-109, or maybe a few, on evaluation. It's a funny old world how enemies have traded with each other just before conflicts. I dare say we'll find out over time. At the moment, we've given loads of stuff to Russia. But yeah, it's a funny old world. I think, in all honesty, and I'm not being horrible about it or anything, But I think our generations have seen the best that this world has to offer. To be honest, the way mankind's going and everything, I think it's only downhill from here on in for them. I think mankind's reached its zenith. Well, I think it's past its zenith and it's on the slope downwards on the other side. There's not much further. Well, they've said this years ago, and to a degree, I agreed then. But I honestly don't think there's much further they can go. Exploration, they're talking about a Mars mission, manned Mars mission. Who's going to, in all realisticness, apply for that? You're going to be out of the world for years, in weightlessness for years, so you'll lose all your body trim. I know they do exercises, but it's not the same as living here in gravity and living off space food for all that time. The risk involved that you might never come back, and out to Mars, and the amount of time that takes to go there and back. Who in the right mind would apply for that? I don't think that'll ever happen, me, myself. Yeah, we've been saying it's not like the old days where they had the astronauts were USAF pilots. How do you fancy doing this? The moon's on, relatively speaking, the moon's only next door. And it's 50-50 whether you believe we went there or not. Sometimes when I look at evidence and valets, you're not that bad. But yeah, why would you do that to yourself? Just to go to Mars? They've sent stuff there and they know there's no there. Not really worth visiting for. Putting yourself to that much risk and that. They need to concentrate with sorting stuff out on the Earth before they start like making a mess in outer space. I mean, let's be honest. We went to the moon in 1969. And this is what mankind's like. They've not improved the moon. All we've done is left rubbish there. And I don't think we've learnt that much about the moon than we would have if we'd stayed here. Yeah, it's like rocks and shit. You can see. What's that learning about a planet? All we've honestly done is left shit there. And that's the human race all over. They won't improve anything, just leave rubbish behind and destroy things, deforest areas. And if you look at it in reality, mankind's vermin that ruin most places they go to. Like I go fishing, and the amount of times you go fishing, people have a day's fishing, and it's nice, you're enjoying nature. Like last time I went, I was watching mink scurry around under my peg. I caught a signal crayfish that I just sat there and went, what the fuck's that? Ah, evening Andy. Yeah, it's not. The thing is, it's a next door to us, and they're travelling at big speed when they're going through space, so that goes fairly quickly. But Mars is a whole different level of distance away. It's astronomical travel. And I wouldn't want to be stuck in a capsule with some dick that probably has nothing in common with me. They're farting after the first month. You'll probably be pissed off with his snoring. Or some of the other serious. They'll probably have the first murder in space. Like, this tit's getting right on me nerves. What happened to your co-worker? Oh, I don't know. He opened the door without his helmet on. I told him not to. Ah, that's true, Valleys. Oh, your mate turns round and says, will you stop doing it with my hand? Yeah, I don't mind you having a wank, but stop using my hand. Ah, bad. There goes a YouTube ban. I think the world's going to hell in an handcart the way we are at the moment. No, you're right there, Andy. You can't go through a McDonald's drive-through if you're peckish, can you? Although give it a few months. Yeah, but you get all these dreamers. They say, "Oh, at one time they were, oh, we're going to colonize the moon and we're going to be living up there just in case something happens on Earth." Concentrate on getting the Earth right, because there's no way you're going to get enough stuff up there to colonize the moon. Yeah, yeah. There aren't no BP garages on way, are there? If they don't give you enough fuel, you're not pulling into a 24-hour carriage. Yeah, it's a mad world. Excellent, Valleys. I'm not sure that I know what that is. I probably would do if I saw it. But yeah, Lima did some really nice stuff. I was devastated when I found out Hornby had got Lima. I thought, there goes the quality, and you're not going to get half of the releases you used to get. Lima were fantastic at the variety they released. Yeah, I know the one you mean now. They're in cream and maroon, aren't they? If I remember rightly. The livery's cream with maroon trim. If I remember correctly. I know the one you mean though. It is a nice little thing. Oh, that's nice. That'd be nice. A rarer version. Excellent stuff. Well, the other week, when I went to the Model Railway exhibition, I went to Lab there. He had a scratch building stall with all scratch building materials and tools. And he had Swan Martin scalpel blades. And I said, "Oh, have you got?" I didn't know he had them at the time. I said, "Do you have Swan Martin scalpel blades?" And he had a box full. And he started taking the shrink wrap off. And he went, "How many packets do you want?" And I said, "Put them back in and close the top." He went, "You what?" I said, "Put them back in and close the top. I'll take all the box off you." He went, "Mm-hmm." Because it's a ridiculous situation now. You can't buy them on eBay. I think I went through this on last live chat. But you can't buy like them scalpels now for modelling on eBay. You can. The ridiculous thing is, you can buy the handle on eBay, but you can't get the blades for it. They won't let them sell the blades. So why have an handle without blades? It's cracked word. But they're not selling them because of the knife situation. But I can go into Home Bargains and buy a knife set, which is more useful if you're a terrorist than that. Nice long kitchen knives, sharp kitchen knives. That's more use to a terrorist than getting a scalpel, but I can't get a scalpel off eBay. I think it's the connection they have between it's sharp and it's meant for surgery. Therefore, it'll be the first implement they go for if they're slashing. Which, really, in all seriousness, if I were in their situation, with their CV and their job title and the required tools, that'd be the last thing on my list. Mad world, again, a mad world. Yeah, I can't really. In today's society, you're not allowed to say who it is that does it anymore. We all knew who it was. And back in the day, I'm not being funny. Back in the day, you're allowed to say who it was. It's just gone, the world's just gone mad. Yeah, it doesn't matter, valleys, run what you want. Mine's going to be 1970s, late 70s, early 80s, BR Blue era. But it's going to get Union Pacific over it, New Zealand diesels, Continental electrics and diesels. I'm running whatever I want on it that's enjoyable. I'm going to run old Lima HO on it. It's a model, it's fun, but if you have an interest in trains, it doesn't stop at excuse. If you have an interest in trains, it doesn't stop at your period you're modelling, and it covers all sorts. All sorts of. I like all sorts of the world's trains and the different versions of them. Excuse me, I've got a tickly nose. Oh, use a towel that's excellent. Don't let the Americans hear you calling a Canadian Pacific SD40 American. Technically, to me, it's all North American, but don't let Americans hear you call Canadians American. For the love of God. Or is it Alan nowadays? I don't know. Yeah, they all get everywhere, really. Have you ever watched the videos on YouTube, fellas, of the guys that do the oboe journeys? Just hop on the freight trains and ride through America. There's some interesting videos, and there's one guy. He's actually on a Canadian Pacific train, and he's walking over the top of it, and through carriages. He went on, but he explored it everywhere while it were in motion. And he stood on one of the freight cars, videoing the front of one of the locals as it's moving. But while he was moving around trying to film, he went through one of the intermodals and he lost his footing and he slipped down in between them. And it's an open space underneath him, down onto the rails and the tracks. So if he'd have gone too far down and hadn't stopped himself, he'd have killed himself, and he shit himself. And he still videoed it, he still put it out on his video, but you could see him, he's, oh. He'd slipped down in between them, and all it was underneath him was a track and rail. He were about 2 seconds off being sliced like salami. Exactly, and it's meant to be an enjoyable pastime and run what you want on them. If I send an American loco through me British late 70s, early 80s layout, it's not going to damage it. It's just something different running through. And when I've done it, I think I'll piss the purists off and post videos of it on the net. Early 80s Salford including a Union Pacific diesel. Happy days, fellas. You know they'd shit themselves. Today's police force are useless. I'm not being nasty about it, but I watched them and they honestly did show years of recruiting from universities and recruiting through box ticking. They're scared of the public. I watched them riot place. and they were the biggest load of mismatched slobs and ineffectual people I've ever seen in a police uniform. They were hopeless. They run away from some of them. And the ones they did, I watched them when they were at that hotel. And they were useless. They were putting themselves in more danger than the people they were meant to be fending off. They backed up to a brick wall and put, who in a riot situation in the right mind backs themselves up against a brick wall? You've nowhere left to go. You're better off keeping out in the open so you've got somewhere to run to. Putting yourself up against a wall in a riot situation, you're going to end up in hospital or dead. They were throwing things at them and bricking them against a brick wall, and they were, well, you shouldn't have put yourself there, you idiots. They were atrocious. I was watching Riot Place. They had the riot helmet on and riot shield, and they were in short sleeve summer dress. Did your chief inspectors not care enough about you to give you decent riot clothing? Are you expendable or something? It was frightening to watch them. The Keystone cops had more of a clue. If you're old enough to remember the Keystone cops, they were more effectual than the guys we have. And that's before I even get on to the one they mention in which is two-tier policing, which the evidence is there, they can't deny it. Because the video were there of one of the coppers with a megaphone saying, take your weapons back to your mosque. What would happen if, I'm not going into it, but if other religions had taken machetes out and they'd have been racist and serving prison sentences in 2 days? As it is, the first people this government's done for offences from the riot is a 15-year-old child. I've not looked into what he does, but even so, where do you break the ground on that? Because he's 15-year-old, he's still a child. No matter what he's done, you can't shift the lines in the sand to suit yourself. And another one was an ex-vet that was a bystander. He wasn't even involved in the rioting. And they've arrested him. So what does that tell you about our policing? Anyway, I'm going up. SPG Vivian's hamster, it was indeed. Our Constable Savage. He did have a Scottish accent as well. On not the 9 o'clock news, he's Constable Savage. I nicked him for wearing a loud shirt in a built-up area. I never thought I'd see the day to say that's reality rather than satire. For sure, Andy. I agree with you on that score. SPG Transit full of gorillas. You know, during some coppers say they weren't, but I'm from a forces family. And they said during the riots, there were military that were put in police uniform in the on the front line at the miners' strike. And I fully agree they were, because you look back at the video and there's a lot of them aren't police meant to have their collar numbers and identification. They were old police uniforms that were being worn by forces personnel. Guarantee it. You know, they probably did, valleys, and I don't remember that, but yeah, it was a good world stage live aid. Queen were the first band that got the sound together. See, I had a brother in the forces during that timeline, valleys, and he says there were ex-forces in that lineup. Don't believe they were all coppers. Don't get me wrong, there were some that were, but there were forces personnel mixed in. Don't get me wrong, coppers had to be fit at the time, but they were nowhere near the fitness level of forces. My brother-in-law were in place at that time, and my brother at the same time were in the forces. And my brother-in-law were nowhere near the size of my brother. He was weedy, and my brother, and I'm saying weedy, he were on the Moss Side riots, but my brother was buff, like he'd been in military over assault courses, bloody doing all shit the military does. He was buff. He weren't a wimp when he went in, but by the time he'd been in for a bit, he was poof. Which most coppers don't get that. But you look at today's police, they don't even look joined up. They look a proper rabble. When you say they're all ex-unit, not being funny, they're all now they're recruited from universities and a box ticking exercise. You look at them. That woman that were in charge of police, she was one of the chiefs, and she had an haircut like Sonic the Hedgehog. She looked a right prick. And they're in charge of her. How can she turn round to one of the coppers and say, that haircut's not good, smarten yourself up? How can they put down rules to a force? You know, I loved Griff Rhys-Jones as a comedian. One of my favourite comedy sketches ever was Head to Head off Smith and Jones. That was such simple but well thought out and well scripted comedy. I have a book somewhere with the Head to Head scripts. But one of my favourite all-time memories were the Head to Head. They sat there talking and like Mel Smith goes, I've just got this shirt, and he goes, oh, what's that then? Like Griff. He goes, it's a Lacoste t-shirt. He goes, oh, what's so special about that? I said, I paid a lot on it. Why? He said, it's a designer shirt. He said, see that? He said it has a crocodile on it. And every year, he said, so you know which year it is? It changes colour. And Griff says, and goes, oh, yeah. He says, I'd like to be there on New Year's Eve. He said, why is that? He said, so I can stand and watch a crocodile change colour. Oh, he killed me, Griff. On that, because he played the slightly dumb mate, didn't he? Griff, and he was really good at it. His facial expression, they were spot on. Facial expression. It's where they had to have acting talent as well as funny ideas. The acting talent on that was excellent, that head to head. Acting, comedy timing, everything were just spot on. But yeah, Constable Savage, that was not the 9 o'clock news. That was a good programme. Good programme, enjoyable humour. In fact, one I thought was the 9 o'clock news, not the 9 o'clock news. I thought the sketch was not the 9 o'clock news. It was actually Ale and Pace that did it. I liked Ale and Pace as well, but they did the sketch with a guide cat. That was funny. That was really funny, the guide cat. Walking up, it was walking onto roofs across walls, walks under cars, gets chased by dogs, and they were brilliant. Yeah, I'll catch you during week, Mick. I don't think I'll be doing too long now. I don't know, see how it goes. Yeah, it's going okay, but a little slow tonight. I think it's because it's summer, really. Summer, you don't do as much model-wise summer. I've certainly not had a chance recently. I've been doing little bits of outside stuff and happy days, Andy. Happy days. It was good stuff, that head to head. I ain't gonna lie, I used to watch the young ones with a spliff. It was the only way you could make sense of it, really. Back in the day. That and Cheech and Chong, Up in Smoke, that were a brilliant film. You understood it more if you'd had a spliff. Yeah, there was some stuff you just had to get spliffed up, but Mel and Griff, they were funny. There's a lot of comedians I can laugh at today, but to get the laughs, they have to resort to going to the mucky side, swearing, like Jimmy Carr. He'll go to all the extremes of stuff to get a laugh. And it's more the shock laugh they get in, because people are shocked and they, shit, what do I do here? Do I laugh? Oh. And it's it's funny too. Like Mel and Griff and Mel. they had to know the comedy, they had to act, and they didn't go on the filthy stuff. They went on things that were problems in society at the time, which there's no doubt that at the time, to a degree, some of the plays were racist. Today it's gone full circle. It's the other way around, if anything, now, which has to be cut out. It has to be cut out to the agendas. They have to treat everyone fairly, not just leave one community because they're scared. They're scared of tackling the issues. Everyone down the line, you commit an offence, it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, rich, poor, Muslim, Christian, whatever. An offence is an offence. And if you've committed it, you're nicked. Sorry, nobody gets off with any offence. And they've been doing it, the police, and been doing it for years to appease certain people. And it can't go on. If it does, civilisation's lost. Because in a decent civilisation, everybody has to be treated equal. %. Ronnie Barker was a proper wordsmith. Cool one, Vallis. Bloody pollen. Technically, Vallis, it's all plant stuff. Bloody hell, me mate one time, he were riding down, we used to have off-road bikes, and he were riding down by side a river, and he looked across to an island in the middle of the river, and he went, that plant looks weird there. So anyway, he rode bike through the river over to the island, got off, had a look. He was a fucking weed plant in the middle of an island. Must have got a seed there or however it got there. He just took up and grew. So he went, sod it, he hacked it down, took it home, dried it down. We smoked it for a few weeks. He were all right. He even gave it a name. It was called Floyd. Happy days. Yeah, it's right, Valleys. The police are ineffectual and hopeless. All they are now is revenue collectors. You go 5 miles an hour over your speed limit in your car down the road. There'll be a letter at your Matway in a week. You know, Ozzy is such. I absolutely love his character. He's a funny guy, Ozzy. And you know, he's one of them naturally funny people. And he's funny without. I know people that are funny without realising they're funny. And it makes them all the more funnier. There's some hugely funny people I know. One of my sister's friends, a girl I knew, she was immensely funny. She looked very much like Victoria Wood, and some of her humour was very similar to Victoria Wood's. But she could go on about normal everyday things with your kids, except the way she did it and the way she described it and the way she's told the story. She was just naturally hilarious. Like you were just rolling on floor with her. Like I guarantee if she'd have gone into comedy, she'd have made it bigger than Victoria Wood, because her humour was on Victoria Wood's scale, except I laughed at her even more. Now, whether that's because I knew her, but her humour was just out there. One day she turned up at my sister's house and she was describing some of her kids were doing, getting in and out of the car. And she told the full story, and she told it. Because how she is with people is funny anyway. But when she describes it, she puts on layers to emphasize it, and it makes it even funnier. She was just one of them. She were a natural. And you're like, Jesus. I've had stitches in my side listening to her. Yeah, Ozzy was bloody good in his day. I'm not as keen on his modern stuff, but Black Sabbath days. But again, his humour. I'll never forget him on the Osbournes when that were out. That was funny to watch. He was a character on that. But they had one of the series of the Osbournes. He was in concert and his missus, Sharon, was setting up the stage for him. And she got a bubble machine. And Ozzy takes one look at it and goes, "Fucking bubbles, Sharon. Fucking bubbles. I'm meant to be the Prince of Darkness." And it was at that point I was killed with him. Yeah, I'm meant to be the Prince of Darkness. But what makes it even funny is it were in a Brummie accent. Oh, he's a star. He's funny. He did it. I think he were an advert as well. I've seen a clip of him, and that's it. It's a drink, a powdered drink, and he goes, and he puts it in drugs term. He says, "You can't inject it." He said, "And you can't, what do you call it, smoke it." He says, "You can't sniff it, but most of all, never huff it." He says, "Never ever huff it." And these lads look at him like that. He says, "You know, huff it when you stick it up you." Oh, funny lad. But he's laughing as he drives off. Oh, God. Proper old character, Ozzy. One of the old rock and rollers. Not these Ed Sheeran types, Jesus. No wonder they're all vegan and bloody chasing rainbows if all they have is Ed Sheeran. You're not kidding, Lemmy had turned in his grave. Motorhead should have had a nice malt. Well, wine? What's that about? Lemmy never drunk wine. That Trooper's okay as well. I've had that Trooper. It's okay, but it's not the best real ale I've tasted. It's too, how do you put it? It's too commercialised. The Iron Maiden's ale. It's okay. It's not a bad drink, but I've had much better. I've had much better real ales than that. All I'd describe it as is average. Get a get a pint of Theakston's Old Peculiar down you if you want real ale. Fantastic valleys. I bet that were an experience, wasn't it? Sat drinking with Lemmy and bloody fast Eddie, excellent. I've never, years ago in early 80s, my friend gave me some 7-inch singles because he weren't keen on them. And one of them was Motorhead, the Ace of Spades. And I can only say I've never really been a Motorhead fan. I appreciate what they do and other heavy metal people like them, but I've never really got into Motorhead. And really, they were on the young ones. They did a slot on the young ones playing the Ace of Spades. But it was never my sort of heavy rock. Yet, having said that, I liked Hawkwind, which was Lemmy anyway. Fantastic. That's what you want, Valid. Yeah, that's odd because Hawkwind were and Silver Machine I love. Not Silver Yeah, were it? Silver Machine? Yeah, I think it is Silver Machine. Yeah, Hawkwind were. Cool. Yeah, again, that's one I've not heard of, Bob Calvert. But yeah, I've heard of Hawkwind. I like the Silver Machine. I got into that one, but I didn't mind the Ace of Spades that much, but I definitely couldn't really get into Motorhead. They weren't my thing. I appreciate them for the addition to the music scene and to rock. I can't appreciate. Having said that, I can't appreciate Ed Sheeran and some of the shit he pumps out. I feel sorry for today's generation because the music's processed and there's nothing really you can say is new. I mean, you looked at our generation, like they were inventive and forever bringing new stuff out, writing their own lyrics, writing their own songs. I mean, there were cover versions back then even, but having said that, today mostly there's a big thing we call cover versions. Ah, excellent. Yeah, actually, I didn't mind that one too much. Motorhead, remember the name now, Motorhead? All right. I didn't mind that one that much. So really, you're saying that was an Outwind one. So there you go. So it falls into the genre of Lemmy's music that I did like. Falls into Outwind mode. Which, yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, there are some things in the 80s were cracking. You look at it. I mean, to be honest, the last years of real creativity and variety had to be the 80s. Now, them, I've never heard of Valleys. Never heard of them. I've worked with a few, but I've never heard of them. You can't say that. It's politically correct today. I'm amazed I'm not in, what do you call it? I'm amazed I don't get in the HR office more often. Because I'll be fully honest. I'm a bit of a dinosaur and I don't buy into this modern day PC bullshit and all these stupid beliefs and going against human nature and science and reality. I don't buy into anybody's make believe worlds. Same thing can be said with religion. I don't believe in any of them. They're all man made things. Man made things to control the masses when they didn't have a police force and local government. That's all we are. I fully believe you, Valleys. I fully believe you. They probably weren't. If Lemmy's out to go off, they probably weren't. But yeah. I mean, me last night, I walked into work and there's one of the lads I work with. He's fucking unnaturally happy. All of a sudden, I can't cope. I can't cope with him. I'll have a laugh myself and be funny, but everything he said and he's bouncing around, big wild smile all the time. And last night I walked in and I just took one look at him and he's bouncing around a wild smile and I said, "Well, you fuck off, you're getting on me tits." And people are like, "Oh God, what's he said now?" He's unnaturally happy. I'll guarantee it. Did he get wet? Wet tie out? Hey, joking apart, Valleys. This week, Blackpool, it's in such disrepair, Blackpool now. It used to get money spent on it and invested in it and that, but it's so run down. The other day, there was a woman on one of the piers and the decking was that rotten, she fell straight through the pier onto the beach underneath. They had to get paramedics, cart her off. Hey, I bet she gets a good fucking claim off it. She can play the mental stress thing. Oh, I can never go on a pier again in my life. That's what I'd do. Yeah, I reckon he is the serial killer, Vallis. Anyway, here we go. What's this? When Andy were a whippersnapper, early 70s. Yeah, hey. You know, a bit of Johnny Cash. Mum Rod Stewart. It's not a bad upbringing, that music wise. I like a bit of Rod Stewart. Your original songs and stuff. Again, Johnny Cash, yeah. Action Man on the Carpet, yeah. Did you used to take Action Man out with your mates? And we used to have an old woods behind us. And we used to play with them out in open. We used to make like death slides for them and all sorts. Go back with a missing arm. He's been injured in action. He's got a missing limb. He's an injured one. I like a bit of Eddie Cochran. You could, don't change that. I like a bit of, no. But Eddie Cochran, Summertime's Blues and all that lot. He was good, Eddie. But Johnny Cash, yeah, I've watched his live in San Quentin concert. That's a good thing to watch, live in San Quentin. You know, that would have knocked you clean out. They weren't small when we were kids then. They were quite a large thing. I remember having a proper sulk on because my mum wouldn't buy me I were on holiday and my mum wouldn't buy me the bloody ferret scout car. So I got a proper sulk on. Proper pissed me off because I'd lost my plastic boat in sea the day before. So I took it right out. I went, no, Mum, can I swim out? Don't mean Dick, you're in Scotland, it's -10 in the sea and it's about a mile out now. Get about 10 foot away from the edge and it's about 100 foot deep. Middle of Scotland, it's nearly Baltic. Yeah, my old family heritage, a Scottish seaside town. When you were out sunbathing in the summer, your skin colour were blue. Your sun protection factor was a bar where you're under a roof. Hey, when I remember, or a council estate kid as a kid, and it doesn't show, does it? But they altered all they modernised all the housing, and they were there for a great deal. They put new windows and doors in. They put central heating in. They redecorated them all. It was a major refurbishing of the housing stock, like major repairs, plastering, like full central heating systems, gas fires. And so the builders were there for months. And us kids, we used to get rides in the dumpers. They wouldn't dare do it now. But we had about 5 kids flying around in the bucket of a dumper round the drive being given rides off the builders. We used to piss them off because they'd go in the house. They'd go in an house where they were working. The dumper would be outside, ticking over, and those kids would go up and rev it up. Like, chug, 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 chug. And they're there going, the little bastards are pissing about with our dumpers again. I mean, it was more to a degree, it was more dangerous, but you learned more common sense and more life skills. I mean, you look at the things that were initiations for us as kids. A certain rite of passage as a kid, you got a mammoth traction engine, which told you your parents trusted you to play with fire and steam, and they trusted you to do adult things. And like, you got all stuff like that, and you had common sense, you did dangerous things. Another thing your parents did with you, we had open fires, coal fires. And when I were about 5, your parents taught you how to light fires. They sat there with you and they'd stack the coal up, put wood underneath, put fire lighters on. Then you put paper over the front of the fire with a shovel, propping it up, stop it going in. So you got the draw on the fire. And they taught you how to do that when you were in single figures. If you were over 5, you were old enough to learn to light a fire. I did. Nowadays, they can't trust them with Tide Pods when they're teenagers. They think it's food. Hey, Andy, a Leeds United football kit's embarrassing anyway. Oh, there you are, I've said it. You're all right, I'm not a Man United fan. I know I'm wearing red, but I won't support that lot. Well, when I were a kid, I were about 13, 14. My dad worked on railway, and I were in Newton Heath sheds regular. And he'd leave me to have a walk around and look at the locos while they were being worked on, engine out jobs on them and stuff. He'd let me walk around and look at the locos being worked on. I actually went in, it's gone now, long since gone. But there was the old foundations of one of the old steam turntables from steam days. And I remember it was winter and I was walking up. I think I was walking up to Cheetham Hill carriage sidings to fetch a DMU out with me pops. And I dived down into the foundations of the old turntable. And there was snow on the ground. It was a winter's night. It was dark and there was snow everywhere. But I jumped down into the turntable pit. Happy days. Good evening, Raymond. Oh, hell yeah. I had one of those jumpers knitted for my Action Man that were multicolours, you know where they do all different colours on one piece of wool, and then when you knit it together, it makes a mottled pattern of all these colours. Somebody did my Action Man jumper in that. Sunderland, Chelsea, and Leeds. Well, one of my friends, I've not seen him for a bit now, but one of my friends is one of the legendary ex-Wolves goalkeepers. Like, funny lad he were. Had a good few laughs with him. Proper old-fashioned character. I'll relate a story. We going back to, I think it was the late 70s or 70s. There were a couple of funny stories. And back then, match of the day, they have a few teams on now. But that back then you got one match or possibly two. But they sent the outside units to one match. It was one of the main matches they'd send them to. And this particular Gary, my mate, was going out at the time. He was going out with a really posh girl, and her parents were very posh. And he said to them, "Oh, I never swear. I'm really good. I'm a good lad." So he persuaded them all he didn't swear. Anyway, this particular weekend when he were playing, he says, "I'll never forget it. It was a winter's day. It was pouring down. It was absolutely freezing." He said, "We were losing," and he were a goalkeeper. And he said, "I was so pissed off. It was unreal." And he said, "And I'm stood there as a goalkeeper." And he said, "This shot came towards me." And he said, "I didn't get a chance to move. And it went in the nets." And he said, "And just at that point, when it went in the nets, I dropped to my knees and went, 'For fuck's sake.'" And he said, "But just at that moment, the BBC had decided to pan straight in on me." He said, "And I was sat at my girlfriend's Saturday evening with her parents and chatting to them and everything. And they were watching the game with me in it." And he said, "Naturally." He said, "You don't know what's been caught on film." He said, "So yeah, I'll watch it with you." He thought I couldn't have possibly have been caught. And he said, "I just look at myself there, dropping to my knees and going, 'For fuck's sake,'" he goes, "I'll see you next week." Yeah, he's funny lad. Yeah, some of the stories he told you were doubled over with him. Yeah, he was very, very funny lad. And because he was Gary in the 1970s, he played in a game, I forget which game it was, but he said I'd excelled myself. And he said, in the local paper run an headline. And on the sports, which is back page, traditionally, and he said, the headline were Gary Glitters. And he says, and that was years ago, he said it were in the 70s. And he said, I was fine until they actually caught Gary Glitter. And he said, and the team, every so often, they have meetups for old team members, and they'll have a dinner and a meet-up, chat, get together. And he said, I'll never forget, I turned up and one of my teammates went, Gary Glitters. And he goes, fuck off. Oh, brilliant, brilliant lad. Well, if you look him up, Valleys, he's called Gary Pearce. He was a legendary Wolves goalkeeper. And his biggest legendary claim to fame was he played in a cup final against Man City on his birthday. And he played outstandingly during that match. He stopped City punting 3 goals in against them. And they were really good saves. But as he walked up, I think he were at Wembley. And as he walked up to go on the pitch, he could hear his fans singing happy birthday to him. Because it were his birthday. But yeah, look him up. He's called Gary Pearce. He's a real character. But yeah, he's another one I laughed at. At the time, VW, for a bit of publicity, obviously, they gave all the Wolves a free orange VW Beetle. All the players got a free VW Beetle in orange each. I think they had black stripes as well. So it was the team colours. Even Gary got one, and he didn't have a driving licence. Never passed a test, and they still give him a car. So, and he likes to drink, Gary. And he went out, he said, I got pissed up. He said, I was in the car, so I decided to drive home at night. He said, next thing you know, he said, I was pissed and ended up in somebody's garden. He said, so I backed out and drove home. He said, about 3 o'clock in the morning, there's a knock on the door. And he said, local constabulary are there. And he going, can we have a word with Gary? Locally known celebrity. They know who he is. He can't hide. And he comes down and he goes, yeah, do you want me? He says, we've had reports you've drove into a garden drunk. I said, no, I haven't. I've been in all evening. And he goes, no, we've had reports. Your car's been driven into a garden. He said, I've been in all evening. And they said, look, come with us. Come here. And he went out and he said, look, we've got your number plate and everything here in the back of our van from the scene. He said, all right, I'll come with you. Oh, classic funny lad. Fantastic, Andy. Funny, isn't it? How I got into them again in the 90s was I got given an old Triang set off a friend, and he'd had the old R59 tank in, and it was a good set, and I built up from there, and where I were at the time, I had a 21 foot by 5 foot layout. So it was quite a big layout, and I had that. Then more recently, I got into it again because I got rid of all the stuff I collected then, and I've started collecting again. And I don't think any of my stuff got a collection. I don't think it'll go anywhere till I die. So I'm not particularly arsed, but I'm one of them people that I don't believe in any form of afterlife or anything. So I'm one of them. I don't give a shit what happens to it after. I'll be dead and not here. So yeah, I'll enjoy it while I'm here. And what happens to it afterwards, whatever. It's there if I ever need money for when I retire and if I get in a bit of stock, it's ready cash if you need some. But yeah, I'm not worrying about what happens to it after I'm dead because I'm no believer in afterlife or anything. It won't affect me where I'm going if dude gets it. Well done, Vallis. Yeah, he was a Man City player. He was actually a German guy. He was a German guy that come to England during the war. That's it, Bert Troutman. He was a Man City player. Carried on playing with a broken neck. Yeah, that was him. Bert Troutman, he was actually a German that left Germany during war. All right, good. Yeah, there you are. You're right, Valleys, it were Bert. Man City player. I'll tell you what one I did when I was a kid. Well, kid, teenager. When you're young and have plenty of energy and you're running about like lunatics and getting up to no good and stuff. In my local area, there's an old flat top stone wall, an old wall. It's near where all the canals were and stuff like that, and old Victorian stone mills and stuff. It's all an area like that sort of area. And we discovered it were ideal to put a rocket on top of it flat, light it and launch it down the road. Anyway, I looked up the road this one night, the car's coming down to time it. And I looked at this car coming down, I lit the rocket, and car passed me. And just as it passed me, I read police on the door. I went, oh, fuck. And next thing you know, this rocket went straight underneath the car, police car, exploded in front of it. The fucking brake lights come out, swerved around the corner. Us lot legged it. And I run and run and run till I got back to where I lived. And they were still pretty near, the coppers. So I dived over somebody's hedges into the garden. And I'm stood there, I goes, something's a bit fresh round here. And I had brand new jeans on and I looked. And the full leg were covered in dog shit. Oh, what bitch? I got back, put washer on, jeans in, My dad's, why are you washing them jeans? You've only been out for what? You don't want to know, Dad. You don't want to know. Yeah, it soon mounts up, Andy. Yeah, first time I drove a car, I just took the keys to my dad's Morris Marina 1800 Super. I don't know what was super about it. They were worse than the 1300. ah, ah, oh God, how bad's that? That'd be my sort of luck, valleys. You know, it's good. It's so good. Look at it this way. You've got something to show for it. All that could have been pissed away in the pub. Jesus. No, I've never calculated. If I calculated how much I spent on them, I'd scare myself. It's an hobby, you're meant to enjoy it. If you start calculating what you're spending on an hobby, give it up, it's not for you. You're meant to treat it as fun and something enjoyable. I frightened myself this week. Even stamp collecting now. I went and looked at stamp albums because I used to have a stamp collection. Even that now is astronomical prices. I used to get given, and I used to get given all British stamps, and like you can go into the shop and get mixed packs of Stanley Gibbons stamps. Like they'd buy stamps from all over the world, like books of stamps, and they must have sawn them off and gone, "We'll give them one of them, give them one of them," and put them in packets. So you got selections of sealed packets. I'm like, oh, I've got that. And you could build a stamp album up. I don't see that for sale anymore, them Stanley Gibbons stamps. It's not as popular as it used to be. But Jesus, if you want to buy a stamp album with stamps in off eBay, they're astronomical prices now. You'd have spent much more in the pub, Vallis. I used to. One Saturday night out for me is equivalent to a local. In fact, I worked it out the other week. I have an early 80s, not the Smoky Joe. Which one is it? I think it's It's either the red one, what's his name? It's got a lad's name anyway. A red one, Dougal Donald, something like that. And it's a red one, and a little R4O. Or it's the Lancashire and Yorkshire one. But it's one of the early 80s ones. Now, 81, a fiver will get you 10 pints, because it were, give or take, 50 pence a pint. So, that local were 8.75. So say it's mid-80s to put that additional price on. It'd have probably been about a fiver in the very early 80s. So really, it's a night's piss up you spend on an R4O loco, which now Hornby has unlisted as £50. Or thereabouts, the £50 the little R4O, smoky jaw, retails at 50 quid. So beer's about £5 a pint. So you still get 10 pints. So that's about, they've kept in line with inflation. It's about the same, like for like. So no, they haven't really gone up a lot more expensive. Fair enough, there are locomotives now that are 500 quid, and you go, wow, whoa, wow, ouch. But think of it this way. Back in the early 80s, that was probably a 20, 30 quid locomotive. But in the early 80s, all you got was a bog standard DC locomotive. Now for that 500 quid, you've got better running motors to a degree. Not all that, but I'm not going to that. But they have DCC on board. You've got sound, you've got lighting. And it doesn't cost nothing to develop all that. You know, you're not far off wrong there. Yeah, exactly, Valleys. Happy days it was. Brains essay. I used to like that when I visited my work brother down South Wales. Have a pint or two of Skull Attack. Were a decent beer. Oh yeah, the old Skull Attack. Famous stuff. You know that sound fitted and for all gauge, that is a bloody good price. 325 quid for all gauge and sound. I'd go for that if I were doing all. Yeah, possibly. I did like Lima. So sad Hornby got their hands on them. It's like killing the... You wonder where they'd be if Lima was still their own company and Hornby were. Because it's competition you've taken. In a way, a lot of competition's been taken away from Hornby, which is why we are now. They can, a lot of the time, they can give you any shit and get away with it because where's the competition? Until recently, and they're only really small companies compared to Hornby. Hornby are giants. Yeah, Pico's another good one. If you want to, yeah, you're right, Valleys. You can make it as cheap or as dear as you want. I'll tell you something. The weird thing was I went to the railway exhibition last week in Leyland, as you know, and the layout I was most impressed with was a Z gauge American. So it was an oddball scale, and it was American rather than British. And maybe it's an old-fashioned view, but I always thought there were very little you could get for Z gauge. And he had buildings, he had cars, he had American locomotives, American freight wagons. And you thought you just didn't get that for Z gauge years ago. It was just Markling Continental stuff. Like the Z gauge club, and it weren't a huge range. Yeah, happy days, Andy. Yeah, it was sad they went though, Raymond. They were a damn good company. Yeah, Hornby have River Rossi now. That's what I mean. Hornby have so much of what would have been competition to them now. You know, Valleys, that Z gauge, it looked good, but I think the thing that ruined it a bit, and don't get me wrong, it looked a lovely layout and the setup were good. And Z gauge suited American subjects because you could give it that wide open feeling. Like, because it were a big layout, it had that wide open feeling. It were about a 10-15 foot long layout. So in Z gauge, it's a big area. It gives it, can do a valley nice in it. And that's what he'd done, snaking through a valley. But you watched the freight cars on it, and I think really he should have stuck to single deckers because he'd done the double deck into models, and they were rocking a bit like that, which didn't look right. But apart from that, I mean, what do you do? Do you not model it because it doesn't look quite right? But the actual wagons are nice. Do you put up with them? I don't know how you'd stop that much wobbling, apart from maybe put springs on them and shock absorbing stuff or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I've seen it. The big boy. I could be tempted with one of them, but you need big curves for it. And because mine's only 4 foot wide, it doesn't really cater to a big boy walker. They're a beautiful piece of kit if you can put the curves down. Yeah, I've watched a few channels and they have like SMT Mainline. He's pretty good channel to watch now and again. And he's fully restored, broken up like River Rossi. Big boys. He's pretty good. He's good. He's an enjoyable channel and he's knowledgeable. He's only a young chap, but he's good. I think, is he called Harris? Might be, I can't remember. I think Harris rings a bell, I think he's called. Or Harrison. Might be Harrison he's called. But he's a good channel, SMT mainly. I can sit and happily watch him because he's like me, he'll get old locos and old battered locos and fix them up. He did a lovely thing the other week. He got one of his grandma's trains. She had as a little girl, and it hadn't been run since she was a little girl, and he practically had to rebuild everything on it and order spurs for it. And he rebuilt it and he got it running, but to see the look on his grandma's face, I thought, oh, that's well worth it. Anyway, gents, we've passed the 2.5 hour mark. I'm getting thirsty. I fancy a Vegemite sandwich, as men at work once said. Nobody's smiling and offering it me though. I'll have to go and do it myself. Yeah, he's good, Raymond. He's an entertaining channel. So yeah, I think I'll go and give myself a Vegemite sandwich and get a drink, chill for evening. Anyway, once again, it's been fantastic having y'all. An enjoyable couple of hours spent once again, chatting and catching up. And yeah, you're not on your own, Raymond. I'll buy once in a blue moon. I'll buy a new one that takes me fancy. The last one I bought was the blue, the light blue Hornby. Is it British Carriers or something? Something like that. The little Sentinel 040 with the connecting rods. And I bought that because it had a special memory in my heart. Because that loco were bought by my local preservation society. And it was stored in my local transport museum yard at the time. It was stored there because they didn't have the main line then. They still only had the transport museum. So they got this Sentinel shunter, and it stood in corner for ages with, I think it were British Carriers on it or something. Something like that, light blue livery with white lettering. And I used to climb over it as a kid and look in. Well, I say a kid. I was a teenager then. But yeah, happy days. So it had special memories for me. And I want to buy Northampton Saints as well. the Class 66 Hornby have just released. And that's because I went on a weekend out with my Irish friend Mick, who's signed off. I went for a weekend at a swap meet with him and his missus. We went round Coventry swap meet, and on my way home, there were a massive car train from one of the car plants, full of Ford Transit chassis and everything. And at the front, Northampton Saints were the loco were hauling it, and Hornby just happened to have released it. Well, I'm going to have one. Anyway, on that note, I'll sign off. It's been good having you all. Lovely chat again. And tatty pie, everybody. Tatty pie. Till next time, I may be in next week. I think I'm off next Sunday. So I'll probably see you then. Tatty pie. Hang on. Where am I going to shut this down? Oh, hang on. I know why it's not. There we go. I had a warning on me bar. Anyway, tatty pie, everybody. What's up now? For God's sake, go away. Things keep popping up on me bar, so it's stopping up. What's this now? Go away. I'm trying to, Andy. It's not letting me at the moment. I'm trying to find out why my bell won't. Why me? There we go. Gotcha. Right, tatty pie, everyone. Tatty pie. Catch you later.